For more updates, click on subscribe and click on bell button for latest notifications. Hi friends, welcome to Tech ARK IT YouTube channel. My name is Ravi. In this video session, we are going to see that S3 storage. So what type of S3 storages we have and what are the storage classes we have. So basically why we need a storage service from the cloud. So companies need to collect, store and analyze the data they have accumulated over the years on massive scales. So example say that the data collection, so example they are running some services, they are running some devices, right? So they are doing some manufacturing stuff. So what they are doing, so they store the data, so they collect the data and store the data like the device serial numbers or the device manufacturing information and so and so, right? Then if it is in a hospital or other than they might store like patient data, their what is their condition details and all, right? What is this treatment they given and all. So something like they have huge collection of the data, they store it, and upon that they do some analysis on that storage so that they can able to easily identify some anything product related, if there is any product issues or if it is in a hospitality data, hospital data, something like that. They can identify that okay, this what is the method to treat, so is there any treatment available for from the other countries or other locations where they are following some similar situations, right? So something like you need a storage to do anything to analyze further. So you need some storage services. So storage services in cloud place in a companies to store the data with a cheapest cost. So that is what example the company is looking for. Always they're looking for the cost savings. So here we have an AWS simple storage service that is called as an AWS S3. AWS S3 is highly scalable, durable, secure, and it's mainly object storage. So object storage in the sense whatever it is considered, whatever the files are, anything you store on that bucket which is called considered as an object. So that's why the storage is an object storage service. So basically this does not have any associated file system to store with, so compatibility issues or anything such as that, no. So just throw the object and it saves the object, so whatever the file type it is, so it does not matter to consider it is the compatibility issues or anything such as sort. Okay, so that's the AWS S3 which is highly scalable, durable, secure object storage. So what it means, so objects means files are stored in a bucket, which is when the bucket means in a directories here. So unlimited storage space that can hold millions of objects per bucket. So millions of objects per the bucket, which means that you can create in a single folder which is called as a bucket. You can store millions of objects in it. You can use CLI, GUI, a program to upload the object. So basically this has CLI, AWS CLI, you can use that to access the S3 buckets and you can store, retrieve, delete whatever it is on the object space from the CLI. You can also have the graphical user interface to deal with again. So if you wanted to have a programmatic access like the Python APIs or the .NET APIs, right? There are so many types of available here. So you can do anything of then you can do programmatic access for that, uploading, downloading, okay, modifying the object. So I cannot modify the object on that, but you can modify it and re-upload it the object, something like that. Okay, so S3 also supports the static web hosting feature. Example is that you have a content which is not basically updates, it's not in a dynamic, right? So you have a website, for example, say that you have some contact details, your website, the address of your company, so on. So you have a sample page over there. If you want to host, then you can also use this S3 to host that website, and you can create an route 53 records, and you can modify that S3 endpoint so that it will be simply like a static website. Okay, so what are the advantages you get by using this S3 storage? Okay, so S3 is designed to store and retrieve any amount of data from a kilobytes to terabytes or even petabytes of data. It can handle massive amounts of data and traffic with ease. So that's a scalability you have. So example, say you have an on-premises storage, you cannot go behind the terabytes of petabytes more than that, right? So max at least you have the data like petabytes or 2 petabytes, something like that. More than that you cannot handle it on premises. So that's where you can get the scalability on the S3. Durability, so this is basically maintenance, how the data is maintained or the underlying infrastructure is maintained, so that durable the data is, right? So S3 is designed to provide 9.119's durability, which means that you may not lose any of single object if something goes wrong with the region as well, right? Meaning that even if one or more of the underlying storage devices fail, the data will still be safe and available. So that's the durability they are giving. Availability, so what is the availability they are giving? That guarantee, S3 provides a high availability with multiple availability zone in region. This ensures that your data is always available even in the event of zone outage. So the data is copied to the multiple zones by default whenever you have upload any objects, right? So by default, whenever your object is uploaded, so that have multiple copies, so to the different locations. Security wise, so S3 provides a multiple layers of security, so multi-layer security here, including the server-side encryption, client-side encryption, access controls, bucket policies. So this is the more important, like while transiting your data, which is secure using the HTTPS protocol, which transfer the data. So in rest example, what of the data is stored on the S3 bucket, which can be encrypted using the S3 encryption or KMS keys. So okay, so that's the method you can use other services to encrypt your existing data, right? And controls, so the granular controls you can create or using the bucket policies or the IAM users. So that's how the security is providing by the S3. You can also use IAM to manage access to your S3 resources. So who need to access, who should not have the access to so and so bucket, so and so folders and all, right? So that's the access controls you can provide over here. So S3 is cost effective storage solution with a pay as you go pricing. Of course, how much you are storing on the S3, that much you have to pay. So there is no additional charge for creating the buckets. How many buckets you want to create, you can create for an account. 1000 buckets you can create, but if you create a simple bucket, there is no charge for that, because it's just a simple folder. It does not contain any of the data size to that, right? No upfront cost or long-term commitments you required. Okay, you can only pay for what you use. So integration, so integrations is it can be integrated with the multiple other services in the AWS, like EC2, AWS Lambda, Glacier, CloudFront, and more. You can use and different services to integrate that. Okay, so ease of use, so S3 does not have to configure anything like access things or anything you need to configure on your policies. All you think is that you have to have the internet access to access the S3 buckets. That's it. So you don't need to change any firewall policies or any port numbers or anything on your while you are accessing the buckets. with the same simple web interface also you can access, so which is an API calls you can use it, or SDKs, so which is a software development kits like Python programs or .NET programs or anything, you can use it for this one. So this makes your integration of your existing applications and workflows easy. Okay, but here one condition is that bucket name should be unique. So if you give a test1 is a bucket name, the test1 bucket name should not exist in the world. Okay, so that's a DNS naming convention. Example say that if you have a website called amazon.com, so the same website you cannot take in the world. Okay, similar like the bucket names also is a unique globally. So if you create a single bucket, the bucket name should be unique. Okay, so you can use S3 access logs to track to your buckets and objects. So that's the one you can do that, right? So here you have some storage classes based on your storing the data, how you store the data, how you retrieve the data. So based on that you have some storage classes, so which actually benefits the users based on their requirement, right? So some users they want just store it then retrieve whenever they want. Some users they need frequent access to upload, download, something like that. Some organizations they look just for an archival purpose, right? So there are different storage classes available here to based on your requirement, how you store the data, how you retrieve the data and all. Okay, let's see what are them here. Okay, so general purpose storage, so which is called a ST standard, which is used for a general purpose storage, right? And data stored across the multiple availability zones. So by default this data is stored multiple across multiple zones, so that whenever your one availability zone gone, then another availability zone is available with your data. Okay, low latency and high throughput. So here while accessing the data, it should be in a low latency and high throughput, you can download the data, right? Durability, so the durability is 99.911 durability is the guarantee that you can get your object. And availability, how available your object is, 99.99% your objects are available. Okay, so when it is recommended to use this S3 standard storage class here, so recommended for frequently access the data. Example say that you upload it and you download it, or you upload it and download and modify and re-upload, so and so, right? Frequently access data, which is not for a store and long-term storing, something like that. So which is basically used for regularly, you upload it, download it, upload it, delete it, upload it, download it, something like that. So it's a frequent access data, so where you can use the S3 standard class. So that is the basic recommendation for that. So another storage class tier is that S3 intelligent tiering. Okay, so this is basically automatically moves your data to the most cost effective storage class. Example say that the data you don't have any example say that what data you are storing and which data should go where and all, right? So you don't have any control over that what data I am uploading, or multiple users or multiple machines are uploading the data, then you sometimes you lost your control, right? Then which data should go where. Okay, example say that user home directories, if you use it, right? Some users they store the data for later use, right? So much documents they store it, but they don't access frequently, right? So they might access after some 6 months, some 3 months, some 1 year, or maybe 2 years back after that, right? So this kind of data, if you use it this intelligent tiering, then it will automatically move the data to the cost effective storage, which means that the data will be moved to the low tier, so that it would be cost saving for the users, right? So no retrieval fees. Example say that it's just like object can be accessed anytime. So there is no special fee for the retrieval. And data stored across the multiple availability zones, and durability is again 99.119, availability is 99.9%. so here you can see that 19 is reduced. Okay, and you can see that when it is used, recommended for the data with unknown or changing access patterns. So there is no you don't know what is the changing patterns, the data change patterns and all. So you can just use that intelligent tiering, so it will automatically tier your data based on the accessed, frequently accessed, and what is data is frequently accessed, that would be put it on a hot storage, and which data is not longly accessed, maybe 3 months or 6 months, then it moves to the cold storage, so that you save cost on that particular data type. So another is that standard infrequent access. So the name says is that it's not frequently accessed, infrequent access to data. So that is the storage class. Here we have data is accessed less frequently but requires rapid access. Example say that, so the data you stored it, you may not access for 6 months, but sometimes after the 6 months you need the data quickly, not to wait 10 hours or 12 hours to restore the data, something like that. So you store the data, you may access after 6 months or 1 year, whenever you want, but the data should be available immediately. Cheaper than the S3 standard. So S3 standard is what we use, we just store it, frequently accessed data, right? So you just store it, retrieve it, upload it, delete it, something like that. So recently changing, continuously changing those objects, you can use the S3 standard. But this is if you use infrequent access data, the S3 standard will be more than the cheaper. So data stored across multiple availability zones, so the durability is again 11 nines and availability is 99.9%. so when it is recommended to have this standard infrequent access class, okay, recommended for long lived data, so you just store it and it might be keep for a long time. And infrequently accessed, this data is not frequently accessed. Okay, so you store it, you may forget it later 3 months or 6 months or whenever you want, so you just access it. Okay, so that's type of recommendation for this storage type. And whenever you are accessing the data, so the millisecond access when you need it, so that is the possibility you have, so it's much faster to retrieve the data. So another storage class which is called as a name one zone infrequent access. So you can simply say that simply like an infrequent access, but the data is stored in one zone, not on a multiple zones. So there itself you can see that the cost is 20% lesser than the S3 standard data, so which is more saving purpose. Data stored in a single availability zone, so if availability is gone, then your data might be lost. Okay, so data stored in a storage class can be lost, so you have to understand that if the data is more important, critical, then do not choose this. Okay, if it is less not important, but you need to store some data, something like that, maybe a log files you wanted to keep it, if the logs goes away, there is no problem, right? So you can keep those kind of data over here. So again, the durability is 99.119 and availability is 99.5. You can observe that there might be a loss of data while storing this here, because if availability zone is gone, then your data is gone. So recommended for recreatable data, so the logs can be recreated, so you can use that. But the old frequented logs, if you do not have that, you don't have any problem, right? So that type of data you can store it here. So infrequently accessed data, again the millisecond access required when you need it, so that's the infrequent access data in a one zone. So there is a storage class called Glacier. So what is this Glacier does? So long-term retention and archival purpose. So example say that this is not like just like the S3 standards or the frequent or infrequent access data. So this is for most of the times archival purpose. You just example say that you have a copy on premises and you wanted to have one archival for that, then you can keep that archival purpose stored on this Glacier. So data retrieval takes longer because it is not a standard storage where they store the data. So that might be in a tapes or something else, right? So they store and they keep away for this. So retrieval options, so when you can access this data, so there would be a 1 to 5 minutes access, 3 to 5 hours access, and 5 to 12 hours of access. So what is that? So here data across the multiple zone availabilities, right? But whenever you are retrieving the data, right, example how soon you want, that much you have to pay. So here for the retrieval you need to have some cost. Okay, so that's the purpose here. But most of the times archivals we don't really restore them, right? When sometimes there might be some requirement to compare the data, previous data, something like that, so that time you require this archivals, right? So the durability here is 99.119 of durability, you can say. So when it is recommended, so recommended is for long-term backups. So you have a multiple backup copies, so one copy for a disaster recovery purpose you just wanted to put it, you can just use the Glacier. Cheaper storage option, so this is a cheaper one compared to the other storage classes, right? So suitable for most use cases, like retrieval time is not in a critical base. Example say that you have to store the data but you are not dependent on the retrieval, right? So the retrieval may be like 1 to 5 minutes, or maybe it can wait 3 to 5 hours, right? So those kind of data you have to store in this class. So however, it's important to note that S3 Glacier instant retrieval comes with a higher cost than the default retrieval option. So if you want data to be retrieved in 1 to 5 minutes, then it should be higher cost. So that's what I said. The retrieval free fee for the S3 Glacier instant retrieval is based on the amount of data retrieved per month. It varies by AWS region, so it again varies on the region where the data is stored. So it might be stored in US regions, that might cost higher. If it is stored in Asia Pacific, something like that, it might retrieval is lesser cost compared to the US regions, right? So something like that, you can use anything. So there is one more storage class is called Glacier Deep Archive. So this is a Glacier with longer access times. So example here, if you do not bother about the retrieval times, right? So I can wait, example, the whenever the restore request comes for me, the restore request can wait maybe up to 48 hours, right? Then those kind of data you can store it over here. So there are two retrievals options here, 12 hours or 48 hours. So very cheapest S3 options. So because this is something like they store the data in tape and put the tapes somewhere else, right? Whenever you require, the tapes can be retrieved back and restore it to the location. So that's why they cost for the retrieval purpose. So the retrieval will be cost, right? Data stored across multiple availability zones, right? And durable for 99.119. Recommended for the long-term data archival access once or twice a year. So example say that if you want to access the data once in a while, so that is the recommended method for this Glacier Deep Archive. Retaining data for regularity, compliance and requirement. So maybe something like you have some legal hold data you wanted to keep for a long terms, the user legal holds data, something like that, then this is the best option to store the data, right? So next one, S3 Outpost. So maybe this, we already see that there is an Outpost is available. So this is basically storage on premises. So the AWS will build your S3 service on your local data center. So that is an Outpost is off. So a single storage class, so there is no much storage classes available here. So a single storage class, and store the data across multiple devices and servers. So as per your high availability, how you build it data center, so that's matter. And the best option for restricted type data. So example, say you have some scientific data or some confidential information, right, which cannot be hosted in a shared services, something like that. So that is the best option to use this Outpost. So recommended for the data needs to be kept local. So that's the one. And demanding applications performance needs. Example, say that you don't have a full bandwidth link to store and retrieve the data, right? But on premises would be much faster to store the data and retrieve the data. So that's where high demanding applications, like example, the demanding of the performance will get higher here. So that's where you can use this S3 Outpost option. So that's about this video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Please subscribe to the channel for more upcoming videos and courses. If you have any question, don't hesitate to comment. So most probably I will reply to the every question you asked.